Hello friends, this is Thaddeus from Going Nerdy, and I had a revelation today that I know why Hondo Ohnaka isn't in the game yet. And the short answer was actually given in the Q&A that was recently done by the developers, and that is because he's going to be coming as part of whatever new vehicle mode that is on its way. Now, there's a lot of hesitation around this. A lot of people want vehicles. I saw the Arnold T101's video where he talked about how if they roll vehicles out the same way they roll out ships, it may be problematic. And that's a legitimate response. But as I've been thinking about it, there are a lot of characters already in the game who could easily be given a vehicle or some kind of means of transportation. Now, before we even jump into this, and before you start thinking that this is a completely Hondo-related post, Hondo's part of it, obviously. He's always in the back of my mind a little bit. But what we have to do is look at what vehicles could be and what they can't be. And first and foremost, I doubt, 100% doubt, that we will get a vehicle that doubles as a spacecraft. I just don't see that happening. And it could be that we get... that vehicles is maybe a different part of the ship mode, and maybe instead of it being ships and then vehicles, it's just vehicles or crafts of sort or modes of transportation, whatever they decide to call it, and that is the new focus. Then you can have it divided by land and then sea and by space. I mean, whatever. And it would be really cool. And it could potentially bring new life into the game. Now, most battles in Star Wars really had a mixture of both land and air. So seeing that wouldn't necessarily be off the rails. It would make sense. But I don't know if that's what they'll do. If they'll do a complete overhaul of ships with whatever and then move forward with it. I don't know. It could be simply that they're adding a new land vehicles to this. And I don't know. We'll see. The other thing, too, is as we've seen with ships, not all vehicles will need a pilot. Not all vehicles will need a rider. And so I'm thinking that some of the things could potentially be riderless. And we'll cover that here in a moment. But without further ado, let's talk about what characters are already in-game that could very well get their own vehicles. And first and foremost, just the front of my mind is Chewbacca. In episode 6, when they're on Endor and they're fighting and they're trying to save the lives and everything is going wrong and about to, the rebellion's about to be destroyed, and that ATST comes walking up and the troopers are like, ha, we have backup. And then, they get blown to smithereens. And who comes out of it? Chewbacca. So it would make sense to see Rebel Chewie driving an ATST. That would be really cool. Now, keeping in theme with the planet Endor, we gotta look at the Ewoks, guys. And the Ewoks were notorious for stealing shiny things. And as we saw, the Ewoks had their speeders, and they stole the speeders from the scout troopers. So it's really possible that we could see Ewoks on speeders. Now, on the contrary, or kind of the flip side to that, we could also see scout troopers in ATSTs and scout troopers on speeder bikes. That would be awesome. That would be super cool because then we'd get scout troopers. I mean, we've talked about it. The player base would like that, and it would be neat. And it'd be a cool way to round out or to help round out the Empire, right? Not that they need a ton more help, but they are characters that would be viable and good. Now, if not speeders, if not ATSTs, there's other things that we could see. We could see swoop bikes. There's a number of characters in the game that are connected with swoop bikes. If I remember correctly, Bastila Shan and Jedi Revan, before he was Jedi Revan, he was just the lost mindless one. There's a moment with swoop bikes in KOTOR, but KOTOR is not the only place we see swoop bikes. We see swoop bikes with Enfys Nest in Solo. She's got the Cloud Riders, and she's on swoop bikes. Her whole flippin' gang is on swoop bikes. You got her, and then 2 tubes and I'm fully believing Saul Guerrero could be added, and it would be really cool to have him be rebel, maybe partisan, which would be sweet, or maybe even just scoundrel. I don't know, because he was definitely a shady character. But that would be awesome. That would be really cool to see Saul being added and giving him, and quite possibly anyone who comes with him, a swoop bike. Shout out to Two Tubes. But then you have other characters. You have speeders, obviously. When it comes to speeders, you have Farm Boy Luke and Old Ben. That would make sense, because right now neither of those two have a vehicle. So I mean, you could see that playing out, and I think it'd be awesome to see them have a speeder. Now, I don't remember them having weapons on the speeder, but Farm Boy Luke has his rifle there, so that would be cool. Another type of speeder is the STAAP that the B1 battle droid used to ride, and that would be awesome, right? There's a lot of potential there. But if we're not talking mechanical stuff, if we're not talking speeders or swoop bikes, which are kind of like speeders, even pod racers to an extent, I don't necessarily see pod racers as being battle viable. I'm sure some of them were, and maybe in the old canon they probably were, and maybe in the new canon there will be soon in the future. But you also have sentience. You have characters who are alive. You have vehicles that are essentially alive. And this isn't some like weird hybrid or, like L337 joining forces with the Millennium Falcon. Like, I mean, literally animals. And with that, there's quite a few animals that, based on what we've seen in the game, could be not only feasible, but make certain factions relevant. And the first one that I'm thinking of is Banthas for the Tuskens. Right now, the Tuskens have nothing. And kind of rightfully so. They mention this in the Q&A, how the Tuskens were very much like the Geonosians. There's not a lot of clamor for them. There's not a lot of like need for them until there was. And now that there is for the Geonosians, maybe we'll see something like that with vehicles with the Tuskens. Now, if there was another way to farm for vehicles, then I would absolutely be okay with, farming Tuskens for their vehicles or gearing up Tuskens for their vehicles. But I don't necessarily feel the push to get the Tuskens currently. Right now, I think my Tuskens are some of my least geared and least maintained characters. But I mean, other than that, we also have dewbacks. I mean, we don't have a sand trooper in the game, but again, this would be a great opportunity to add the sand trooper to the game. Again, a great opportunity to add and to develop the trooper regime, the trooper legion. It would be cool to further develop the empire. I think it's really possible that we could see something like that. Kenobi, even General Kenobi, who, if you actually go back and read the books in, I believe it was Master and Apprentice, he loved flying before, but some events that took place in the book in Master and Apprentice actually kind of hampered his, kind of put the tamper down on his love for flying, and that's why in episode 2 he's like, I hate flying, this sucks, whatever. It explains that a little bit more, and so it's fascinating, because what he was really good at and what he did have a really strong connection with was that giant lizard monster, the Boga. With there being a focus on the Clone Wars, with there being a focus on Kenobi, with the show being launched or at least worked on here in the next couple of months, begun in the next couple of months, it's possible that we could see something like that. Now, I mean, Kenobi has his own fleet, obviously, but outside of that capital ship, he doesn't really have much. And so I think that it's possible we could see him on a Boga. Additionally, we could see Han, and that's like Captain Han from, all forested or all wintered out on Tauntaun. We could see really anyone dressed in Hoth clothing on a Tauntaun. Very possible. I think that would be really cool. But we could see other characters added to the game that have the quintessential vehicles, right? I'm thinking of like the duck monster, the duck giraffe, the Gungans ride in episode 1. It's called Ka'adu, I believe, which obviously is a mix between some Gungan and a duck got hooked up and created this weird avian species that walks on two legs. I don't know how this would work out, but essentially, if we're going to get a Jar Jar, and I think that we will eventually get a Jar Jar, and it's possible that we could get a Gungan or a series of Gungans, this would be a really cool way to make those characters unique in a different area of the game, right? And I think it's very possible. So these are just the ones that just came off the top of my head as I was going through my rosters based off of characters we have, based off characters I think that we're going to get. And obviously, I do think Hondo's coming, and I think he's going to get a tank. Will he be the only one with a tank? No, I obviously not. I think we could get a Wat Tambor with a tank. I think we could get a number of other characters with a tank. Or maybe with like mobile shield generators. That would be kind of cool, where you have to destroy that. I don't even know how it would work out, but there's a lot of potential with this. And although I'm not the most or the biggest fan about the vehicles, to me it's more about the story and less about like the technical stuff that we see in the movies. This has a lot of potential for the game, and I think depending on how they introduce this as a mode or as a function, I think it could be really cool. I would love to see them do different types of ships where it's space or land, and where that's all under the same thing. Maybe they build out the ship nodes quite a bit more, and then maybe even lessen some of the difficulty, or maybe lessen some of the cost of some of the lower levels. I think that's very possible, and it would be a simple way in my mind, but I'm not a developer, I'm not a coder, so I don't know all the back and forth. I think it'd be awesome. What do you guys want to see? Personally, I want to see someone riding a Wampa and someone riding a Rancor. Just throwing that out there would be awesome. Or just a Wampa as a vehicle himself. Just saying. A Rancor as a vehicle of destruction itself. What do you guys think? Leave a comment in the section below. Like, subscribe, share. If you want to support the channel, go to the links below and actually check out some of the links I have in the links below. There's a free 2-book trial for Audible. You can download 2 books. Just sign up. It's absolutely free for a month. You can quit, and it still helps the channel out. Plus, you get a chance to read some of these great audiobooks or listen to some of these great audiobooks that are coming out. Anything actually from those links does help me, so please leave a comment. Please check them out. Let me know what you guys think. I'm really curious about this, and I know there's a lot of fans out there who love the vehicles. And if you do have that deep desire, that deep love for those things, message me and let's talk about it. This has been Thaddeus from Going Nerdy, and as always, my friends, smile and stay nerdy.